All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Please call the case.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is file case CBC 2020-06, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Hashim Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, Recep Selim Yeni Yakub Krasniqi.
Thank you. I note that the accused are all attending today's hearing via video link with permission. Today we will start the hearing. We will start hearing the evidence of prosecution witness W01163, who will be appearing by video link. Before that, the panel has two oral orders to issue. Then we will do that without the presence of the witness, and then we have one matter to take up in the witness's presence. The first oral order sets a deadline for objections regarding chronology for victims' counsel's case and requests for reparations. The panel notes that during yesterday's status conference, victims' counsel submitted his understanding that under the Specialist Chamber's legal framework, any case on behalf of the victims participating in the proceedings shall be presented after any motion pursuant to Rule 130 has been ruled upon by the panel. He also submitted that he intends to file any request for reparations after the trial judgment has been pronounced by the panel. The parties are ordered to file any objections to the chronology as envisaged by the victims' counsel by Monday, 2 December 2024. This concludes the panel's first oral order. The second oral order regards partial reconsideration of decision F0164. On 27 September 2024, the SBO filed a request for partial reconsideration of decision F01664. I'm referring to filing F02604 on 30 September 2024. The defense provided written submissions in F02606. The defense confirms that it does not oppose the SBO request for partial reconsideration as long as certain redactions are retained to the heading and the first sentence of paragraph 54 of the English version of 076841-076856 are maintained. The SPO has confirmed that it would agree to these redactions. The panel amends decision F01664 in line with the parties' inter-parties agreement and orders the SPO to file a redacted version of 076841 to 076856, which redacts the heading in the first sentence of paragraph 54 of the English version of this document by the end of business today. This concludes the second oral order. Now the preliminary matter that will be dealt with in the presence of the witness. Madam Court Officer, please bring the witness through the video and connect us through the video link, and then bring us into private session to protect the identity of the witness.
sam.
Your Honor, we're now in public session.
Witness, take a look at the document in front of you and then read the solemn declaration aloud as it is required by our rules.
Svesna sam svega.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge.
Witness, today we will start your testimony, which is expected to last approximately this one day. As you may know, the prosecution will ask you questions first, and then counsel for victims. Once they are finished, the defense has the right to ask questions of you, and members of the panel might also ask questions of you. The prosecution estimate for your examination is 1.5 hours. Victims' counsel will take approximately 15 minutes for some questions. The defense estimates that it will need about 2.5 hours. As regards each estimate, we hope that the counsel will be judicious in the use of their time. The panel may also allow redirect examination by the SPO if conditions for it are met. Witness, please try to answer the questions clearly with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question or tell them you don't understand and they will clarify. Also, please try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of facts and circumstances that you will be asked about. In the event you are asked by the SPO to attest to some corrections made regarding your statements, you are reminded to confirm on the record that the written statement, as corrected by the list of corrections, accurately reflects your declaration. Please also speak into the microphone and wait 5 seconds before answering a question, and then speak at a slow pace for the interpreters to catch up. During the next day, or during today, or even into tomorrow if necessary, while you are giving evidence in this court, you are not allowed to discuss with anyone the content of your testimony outside of the courtroom. If any person asks you questions outside of the court about your testimony, please let us know. Also, please stop talking if I ask you to do so, and stop talking if you see me raise my hand. These indications mean that I need to give you an instruction. If you feel the need to take a break, please let us know by making an indication with your hand, and an accommodation will be made. We begin now with the questions by the SPO, by the prosecutors. Please give them your attention. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, witness.
Dobro jutro.
Good morning.
Before, but I will introduce myself again. I am Alexandra Nsinga with the SPO, and I will be asking you some questions this morning. I also note that as I explained during your preparation session, rather than asking you questions about every relevant issue you may have information about, it may be possible to admit some of your prior statements containing that information into evidence. In order to do so, there are a number of procedural steps to follow, which I will turn to after establishing your identity. And with that in mind, can you please state your full name for the record?
Stamena Jelić.
Stamena Jelić.
And what is your date of birth?
19th of August 1975.
And what is your nationality?
Srpkinja.
Serbian.
Witness, in the past, you've given several statements to various authorities, and I will now call them up on the screen in front of you. I would ask the court officer to please pull up both the English and Serbian version of ERN 030668-030669. The English version ends in -ET revise red, and the Serbian version ends in just red 2. And if you could pull up the first page of each of those. Witness, can you see the statements in front of you on the screen?
Da.
Yes.
This refers to a witness interview conducted on 3 April 2002. Did you give this statement?
Da.
Yes.
Thank you. If we could now pull up the Serbian and English versions of 030655-030659, page 1 of each. Thank you. Witness, can you see the statements on the screen in front of you?
Da.
Yes, yes.
And this refers to an interview dated 9 October 2007. Did you give this statement?
Ovo mi je sitno, ne vidim.
The letters are too small, I cannot really see it well.
Just one moment. Can you see it better now?
Da.
Yes.
And if we scroll to the bottom of that same first page, witness, do you see a signature there at the bottom that you recognize as your signature?
Jeste.
Yes.
And could we now please pull up both the Serbian and English versions of 009819-TR. The English is -TRET, Part 1, Red 2. And the corresponding Serbian translation is 009819-TR, Part 1, Red 2. And witness, are you able to see the documents on the screen in front of you?
Da.
Yes.
And this is an interview dated 23 January 2014. Did you give this statement?
Da.
Yes.
And lastly, can we please pull up the Serbian and English versions of SITF 00314-867 00314-871. The English is -ET red, and the Serbian ends in just red. Witness, are you able to see the documents on the screen in front of you?
Da.
Yes.
And this refers to an interview dated 1 April 2014. Did you give this statement?
Da.
Yes.
Witness, during the recent preparation meeting that took place on 18 September of this year, were you given an opportunity to review your prior statements?
Da.
Yes.
And do you recall that you made some clarifications and changes to these statements during that preparation session?
Da.
Yes.
And those clarifications and changes were reflected in a note that was read back to you at the end of the preparation session?
Da.
Yes.
Can you confirm that what was read back to you in that note reflected your clarifications and changes fully and accurately?
Da.
Yes.
And subject to the clarifications and changes provided in that note, do your statements accurately reflect your evidence and what you would say if you were asked again the same questions in court today?
Pa sve isto što sam rekla tad.
Yes, whatever I said at that time, I would say again now.
Your Honors, having fulfilled the Rule 154 criteria and in accordance with decision F02044, the SBO hereby tenders all prior statements of this witness in English, Albanian, and Serbian, including the associated exhibit identified at footnote 24 of decision F02044, along with preparation note 1, dated 18 September 2024, with ERN 122928-122935.
Any objection? Ms. Statapoli?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No objections being heard. ERN 030668 to 030669 in English, Serbian, and Albanian is admitted.
Your Honor, that will be assigned exhibit number P01699.
Thank you. Now 030655 to 030659 in English, Serbian, and Albanian is admitted.
That will be assigned exhibit P01700, and if Your Honors, we can confirm in the end classification for all.
Public or confidential?
Your Honor, for now, confidential.
For the time being, then we will remain confidential. The next one is 009819 TRET in Serbian, Albanian, and English. Is there just one part, or how many parts to that?
Your Honor, there are 4 parts to
Four
that
parts.
statement.
All 4 parts are admitted.
Your Honor, Part 1 will be assigned Exhibit P01701.1. Part 2 will be assigned Exhibit P01701.2. Part 3 will be assigned Exhibit P01701.3. And Part 4 will be assigned Exhibit P01701.4.
Thank you. Now SITF 00314-867 to 00314-871 in English, Serbian, and Albanian is admitted.
That will be assigned Exhibit number P01702.
And the prep note, which is ERN 122928 to 122935 is admitted.
And that will be assigned Exhibit P01703. And can we confirm that they're all confidential?
Yes, all confidential at this time.
And did you tender the associated exhibits that you wish to have tendered?
Yes, Your Honor.
They are admitted as well.
Your Honor, I believe the associated exhibit was what is now P01702.
The associated exhibit ERN is 009812-009818, but only the last page of that document, which is page 009818. And it is the same document in all three translations, so only one need to be admitted.
Thank you. That will be assigned Exhibit P01704.
Ms. Tavakoli, you were on your feet.
I was just querying my learned friend's request for these Rule 154 statements to be confidential because this witness's evidence is going to be in open session, so it makes it quite complicated if one wants to refer to a statement if actually she's testifying publicly. So I would ask for them to be public.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd ask for them to just be confidential so we can ensure there is no mention of other relatives or people who are not parties to this case that would need to be protected. I believe there may be mentions of family members or children that are not parties to this case, and so we would just ask for the opportunity to review, and we can get back to the court today with that information.
They will be reclassified as public, all documents. The prosecution had the opportunity to deal with protective measures and declined, so we will use we will lift those, the confidentiality on this. That does not mean that it will be broadcast. It will merely be lifted for purposes of cross-examination.
Understood, Your Honor, and if we do determine that there is anything in line with Your Honor's order that she may request private session for any need, we will submit a PRV at that time.
Understood. That's the same at all times, in all witnesses.
Your Honors, at this time, I would propose to read a short summary of the witness's Rule 154 statement. This summary was sent to the parties on the 23rd of September 2024 at 1847.
Yes, go ahead.
In the summer of 1999, W01163, a Serb, was living in Rehovec together with her husband Marko Jelic and other family members. On or about 16 June 1999, W01163 witnessed the abduction and mistreatment of her neighbor, Hanta Grakovic, by KLA members. Later the same day, W01163 was told that 3 other Serbs living nearby were taken in a car by the KLA members. on 9 August 1999, W01163's husband was taken from their home by 3 KLA members in the presence of W01163. He never returned and has been missing ever since. Marko Jelić's mother approached the KLA commander in the area for information about her son, but to no avail. Of all of the abducted Serbs, only the body of Panta Graković was found. This concludes the summary of the witness as evidence. And Your Honors, I now have a few clarifying questions that I'm going to put to the witness. Witness, in your prior statements, you discussed the abduction of several other Serbs who lived close by or were neighbors of yours. Are you able to recall the names of those individuals as you sit here today?
Sveta Grković,
Sveta Grković, Marko, I cannot remember his last name right now. Negovan Nedić, Dedić. Then one Miljković, and I can't remember the first name.
Thank you, witness. Does Tihomir Miljković sound familiar to you?
da, to je
Yes, that was our neighbor.
And Marko, does the surname Vitosevic sound correct to you or familiar?
da.
Yes.
A learned friend could desist from leading, and if memory refreshing is required, to follow the correct procedure.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Witness, I heard you say that Tihomir was a neighbor of yours. Was Marko also a neighbor of yours?
Da.
Yes.
And witness, do you recall approximately how old those two individuals we just discussed were in 1999?
Pa to su bili stari ljudi.
These were elderly men. They weren't young. They were older.
Witness, can you please describe what you recall learning about these two individuals and their disappearance?
Well, Sveto Grković's wife, Auntie Jela, she came to the neighbor's house to ask about her husband's whereabouts.
And witness, what do you recall learning about Tihomir and Marko, the neighbors you just described for us as being elderly?
Tihomira su
Tihomir was beaten up, and then they took him away in a van of some kind. And his hands were tied. And I heard that he managed to escape from that van.
And do you recall how you learned this information about him?
od komšinice.
I heard it from my neighbor.
And as you sit here today, are you able to recall that neighbor's name?
Je
Her name was Yela.
And witness, did you ever hear anything about, I'm sorry, withdrawn. Witness, do you recall the last name of your neighbor that you just mentioned with the first name Yela?
Grković.
Garković.
And what was her husband's name, if you know?
Sveta.
Sveta.
Witness, do you recall learning where these individuals were detained?
U Orahovcu gde je bilo
In Orahovac, where the police used to be, and when the police left, they were detained there at the police station.
And just so the record is clear, whom were they detained by?
OVK.
KLA.
Thank you, witness. Did you ever hear anything about who was responsible for these disappearances or abductions?
Za Orahov
The responsible person for Orahovac was Ismet Tara.
And what, if anything, did you hear or learn about his involvement in these disappearances or abductions?
pa od
Well, I heard from people in Orahovac that he was responsible for the disappearance of people.
And as you sit here today, are you able to recall who you learned that from?
My mother-in-law, when she went to report the disappearance of her son, she went to see Ismet Tara personally. That's what she told me.
And witness, did you ever meet or speak with Ismet Tara yourself?
ne.
No.
Witness, the other neighbor that you mentioned earlier, Marko Vitosevich, what did you learn about his disappearance or abduction?
Pa,
Well, I heard from Auntie Ella that on that day, Panto Garkovic, Sveto Garkovic, and Marko Vitosevich were abducted.
And did you ever learn anything about them after they were abducted or hear anything about them afterwards?
pa,
Well, Auntie Ella said that they had been detained at the fire station.
And are you aware of whether any of them were ever seen or heard from again after that?
ne.
No,
And just so the record is clear, when you said that she heard that they were detained at the fire station, where was that fire station located?
Nalazila se blizu
it was close to the police station.
And was that in Rakovic?
Da, Orahović.
Yes, in Orahovic.
Your Honors, that concludes my examination of this witness at this time. Thank you, witness.
Thank you, Ms. Tabacoli.
Your Honor,
Questions?
forgive me, Your Honor. Yes. Good morning, Mrs. Jelic. Can you see me and hear me all right?
Dobro jutro.
Good morning.
Vidim vas dobro.
Yes, I can see you and hear you well.
You and I have spoken, but to introduce myself, I am Simon Laws, and I'm counsel for the victims in this case. You understand that, I hope.
Ja, znam.
Yes, I know.
As you know, I'm going to ask you some questions today about the effect on the lives of you and your children of what happened to your husband, Marko. And I'm going to start by just some background information, please. Is it correct that Marko was born in 1968?
Ne.
No,
Tako je.
that's correct.
And you were married to him in 1995?
Da.
Yes,
You would have been 20 years old at the time, and Marko was 26, I think.
Tako je.
That's correct.
Can you tell the judges something about Marco's character and what sort of a man he was, please?
To bio je dobar.
He was a good man. He was an ordinary man.
And before 1998, what did he do for a living?
Marko je radio
Marco worked at Termovent. He was an accountant.
And then later in 1998, I think it's correct that he did some work as an interpreter for the OSCE because he spoke Albanian, Serbian and English.
tačno.
That's right.
Is it correct that you had 2 children together?
Da.
Yes.
Did you have a daughter born in 1996 and then a son born in 1997?
Da.
Yes.
So in August of 1999, your daughter was 3 and your son was 2 years old. I think that's right.
Tako je.
That's right. Yes.
Now, I don't need to ask you any questions at all about what happened to Marco and about the day that he was taken. But I do want to ask you some questions about the way that his loss has affected your life and the lives of your children. Is that all right?
Pa verujte da je mnogo
Well, believe me, it has affected us a lot.
moja
My daughter was very attached to her father. And when we left Orahovac for Montenegro, for Berane in Montenegro, the child did not speak for a month, although she had already begun speaking.
stalno je sjedela.
She was seated at the same spot all the time and looking at the same spot all the time, and she wouldn't speak, she wouldn't utter a word.
In that first year that you were in Montenegro with the children, could you describe, please, what life was like for you?
Pa iskreno ja
Honestly, I was not functional either physically or mentally.
i to i onda sam
And then I sought help. I went to see a doctor. And when he told me about some things, such as that my kids will end up in a home, for abandoned kids and that they wouldn't know that they were brother and sister, then I tried to pull myself together and for a full year, in fact, I wasn't really well, either physically or mentally, but after a year, thankfully, thanks to the doctors, I was better.
All right. And after some time in Montenegro, is it correct that you moved to Serbia, and we don't need to know the town, but you moved to Serbia with the children?
Tako je.
That's right.
Did you support them? Financially, I mean.
Pa kad smo došli,
Well, when we arrived in Serbia, I worked at a fast food stall.
And as of today, are you still working full-time in the restaurant trade?
da.
Yes.
Now, we know that in 2014 there were some proceedings in the High Court in Belgrade, but was anyone ever put on trial for the abduction or killing of your husband?
Ne.
No.
And we know, because you've told the prosecution about it, that his body has never been found, and that is still the position today, is it not?
Da, nikad.
Yes, his body was never recovered.
Could you tell the judges, please, what that has meant to you?
Pa,
Well, what I would like to know is what happened to my husband. If at least we could get one bone so that we can bury it and know where he is, so that I can actually finally shed tears.
You told us a few moments ago about the effect of what had happened to your husband on your daughter when she was a little girl. Can you tell us more generally, looking back now over the years, how it's affected your children to grow up without a father?
veoma teško.
Very, very much. They're still affected, although they are grown-ups now.
And Mrs. Jelic, would you like to just tell the judges in your own words how you see what happened to Marco, as, the way in which what happened to Marco has affected your life.
Well, it has had a lot of effect on my life. It's very hard to live somewhere and bring up 2 kids without anyone's help. That's very hard, and I wouldn't wish this on anyone. Although all of this is in the past, to this day, life is not really easy.
Thank you. Your Honour, those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Laws. Now, Ms. Tavakoli. We'll break at 10, just so you know.
Good morning. My name is Nina Tavakoli, and I represent Hashim Thaçi in this trial.
Dobar dan.
Good morning.
Would I be right, Madam, that you concluded that the KLA was responsible for kidnapping your husband because when the men came to your house, they said they were KLA and some of them had KLA uniforms on?
Tako je.
That's right.
Now, I think you said that they were 19 or 20-year-old kids. Is that right?
That's right.
And I just want to be clear about how many of the men had KLA uniforms. In your statement to the office of the SITF, you said that it was all of the men. And earlier, in a statement to the Serbian MUP, you'd said it was 2 had civilian clothes and 1 was in uniform. Do you remember today whether it was all of them or 2 of them, or 1 of them in the uniform?
I said that 2 of them were in uniform and 1 was in civilian clothing. I never said that they were all in uniform.
I think in, and the reference for the court is P01 701 part 4 at page 5. If we could perhaps bring that up on the screen. This is your statement to the SITF. I understood the first line to be that it was all three of them, but are you saying that actually it was just two of them? That's fine. I just want to be clear what your evidence is. I understand that events were a long time ago. Is it two, you say? Sorry, can you hear me?
Da, čujem vas.
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Two of them were in uniform and one of them was in civilian clothes.
Now, you also told the SITF that around that time, your family didn't leave your house. You didn't go to the market or the shops, and your neighbour brought you bread and milk. Do you remember saying that? Yeah.
Ne.
I think you need to put your,
No.
rather than just ending it as a statement.
Yeah. At this time, you and your family didn't leave your house, did you? You remained inside your house.
Tako je.
That's right.
I think your daughter told the prosecutor's office, and the reference is ERN 122926, paragraph 4, that effectively you were in hiding at this time.
Pa nismo smjeli da izađemo na ulicu.
Well, we did not dare to come out onto the street.
We've heard evidence in this trial that KLA uniforms were readily available in the summer of 1999 in markets, and people were buying and wearing these uniforms weren't necessarily in the KLA. Now, you wouldn't be aware of that, would you, because you didn't leave your house at that time?
Gospođo, ti ljudi
Madam, the men who took away my husband were from the KLA. Those were our neighbors.
Going. I know that's what you think, and I hear you on that, but I'm just trying to explore this issue. Now, we've also heard evidence in this trial that the border with Albania was open at this time and that large-scale criminal gangs were coming over the border.
Mr. Tavakoli, could you give us a reference for this, please?
Yes, that is D1D00085. So at this time, we've heard evidence that there were large-scale criminal gangs coming over from Albania and committing crimes wearing KLA uniforms. Now, had you heard of this, or were you too isolated at the time to hear of that?
nisam ja čula ništa o tome.
No, I did not hear anything about that.
You told the prosecutor's office last week in your preparation session that one of the men, he had a blue ID, and the reference is Prep Note 1, paragraph 15. You didn't know him. Do you remember saying that?
Да, сечем се.
Yes, I remember.
Also said he wasn't local, was he?
Tako е.
That's correct.
Statement to the prosecutor, and the reference is P01701.2, that he introduced himself as from Albania. Do you remember saying that?
Он е рекao да е из Балкана.
He did say that he was from Albania. I remember that.
He showed you was blue, wasn't it?
Tako е. И рекao е да е
That's right. He also said that he had received it from the K4.
Thank you. Would you like to break now? Got one. Yeah.
It's a convenient time for you. Witness, we'll give you a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back to the courtroom in 10 minutes. You may leave the room with the court attendant. We're adjourned for 10 minutes.
All rise. All rise.
Gjithë më kamp.
Be seated.
Mund t'uleni.
Madam Court Officer, you may bring the
Ju lutem sekretare, sillni dëshmitare në ambientin ku ndodheni.
Ms. Tavakoli, what's your...
Zënja Tavakoli, pak a shumë sa komendoni se do ju nevojitet. Zënja Tavakoli.
Just for everybody's planning purposes. All right, Ms. Witness, we will continue with the questions from the Thaçi defense. Please give them your attention.
Thank you. Madam Witness, when you've told the prosecutor's office that after these men took your husband, they returned some days later and demanded money from you in exchange for his return. Do you recall saying that?
Да, так.
Yes, that's how it was, and that is what I said.
I'm going to suggest to you that these men that took your husband could in fact have been criminals from Albania trying to take your husband for ransom and pretending to be the KLA. What would you say to that?
Ti koji su
Those who asked for money and who took my husband away were not from Albania, but they were from Orahovac. And the same individuals who had taken him away had returned asking for money.
The suggestion, madam, is that they were not the KLA, but they were criminal gangs.
I think she's already answered that
Okay.
question.
We can move on. Now, to my next topic. Your husband worked for the OSCE during the KVM period. That's right, isn't it?
That's right.
For Frank Ledwig. Correct?
Correct.
Now, did you know that Frank Ledwig and the OSCE had carried out their own investigations to try to find out what happened to your husband?
No.
No.
Outreach and interviews. And the reference for the court is P01704, paragraph 54. Now, as part of that investigation, Frank Ledwig said that he had met KLA commander Ismet Tara, who you said was the responsible person for the KLA. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Ismet Tara was the man in charge in Orahovac.
You know, in the reference for the court is 083217, part 11, page 12, that Ismet Tara, he confirmed that he'd spoken to somebody who was an investigator, maybe from UNMIC or the OSCE, about 4 or 5 times. Did you know that?
No.
No.
You a document, if we could please bring it on the screen. And it is SITF 00389 269 00389 And then I'd like page 3 of that document, please, which is ends 269. If you keep penning down the page, thank you. Paragraph 7 is what I'd like. Up. Thank you. There is no Serbian version, sorry. This is a report from the OSCE for the 16th to the 18th of August, 1999. Sorry, Madam Court Officer, if you just pen down the page, you can see that date at the beginning on the first page. So we can see here that this is an OSCE document and it's their report of that date. And if we can go now, please, to that paragraph 7 that we had before. And I just want to read some of that paragraph to you. The most disturbing and distressing incident in the town over the last week has been the kidnapping of former KVM employee Marko Jelic. Efforts to trace him have failed. Investigations point strongly at Albanian involvement. Rumours in the town speak of a group calling itself after the Serbian extremist Black Hand Gang. Presumably this name, if it exists, is intended ironically. It does seem that there is a group operating out of the control of the KLA. KLA expressions of regret are, it seems, on this occasion, sincere. Were you aware that this was the OSCE's conclusions about the kidnapping of your husband?
Objection. Asked and answered. The witness stated she was unaware of any such investigation.
Sustained.
I'd like to tender this document, please, as contrary evidence to what the witness is putting forward. I'd like to tender this document into evidence. We couldn't do it through Frank Ledwig, so I don't know the route through which we can now do this. I'm in Your Honour's hands.
There is no route that you can do this at this point. She can't identify it. She doesn't know anything about it. I don't know what you intend.
I've read it into the record. I mean, I think the problem is the defence is now somewhat prejudiced because it should have been, it could have been put to Mr. Ledwig, and now we cannot put it to Mr. Ledwig.
Ms. Tavakoli, I believe the bar table option is available at all times.
Thank you, Judge Gaynor.
Your Honour, may I be heard on this briefly?
Go ahead.
I'm concerned that a different test is being applied to defence exhibits than that which has been applied to tenders from the prosecution on this sort of issue. We were told, I think, earlier this block that it's somewhat irrelevant whether a witness has seen a document before in response to objections to a prosecution tender. The question on a tender is, the approach that's been followed by this panel to date is, has it been established that the 138 criteria are met? Is it prima facie relevant and authentic? This is obviously relevant prima facie because it refers to the Marko Jelic case. It's obviously prima facie authentic because it's an OSCE document. Applying the standards that have always been applied so far, it should be admitted in my submission.
Your Honour, we would echo those submissions.
If there's a tender, please say so, and we'll go ahead. Do you tender this document?
Your Honour, I'd like to tender this document for the reasons outlined by my learned friend, Mr. Ellis.
All right. We will mark it MFI and we'll rule on. Prosecution. Do you have a submission on this?
Your Honor, we would object that this is not the proper form to tender this document. As Judge Gaynor stated, it may be a bar-eligible item, and they could have put it to the relevant witness at that time. Obviously, that's outside the bounds of today's conversation.
Yeah, when Mr. Ledwig was here, you certainly could have offered it to him.
The problem was that paragraph 54 of his statement was redacted, and we weren't allowed to ask questions about that.
Your Honor, if I may on that, while that paragraph was redacted in his statement, it was discussed in Prep Note 1, which was admitted, and therefore they would have been able to tender this document with that witness had they so chosen to do so.
All right. Thank you. It's marked MFI. We'll consider it.
Now,
Your Honor, that would be assigned. Your Honor, that would be assigned exhibit number 1D 192, and I note it's classified confidential in legal workflow. Yes, marked for identification.
I would like to now also tell you what Frank Ledwig concluded about your husband's disappearance and see if he told you that at the time. And the reference for the court is P01704, paragraph 54. And he concluded, for what it's worth, taking into account all I've been told about Tara and what he told me, I do not believe that Ismet Tara had any involvement in the kidnapping of Jelic or any other Serb civilians following the NATO entry into Kosovo. Now, Frank Ledwig helped you and your family leave the country, didn't he?
Objection, compound question, Your Honor.
Just break it up into questions that are answerable.
You knew Frank Ledwig, didn't you?
Yes.
From Kosovo, didn't he?
Yes, and I thank him for that, madam. And as for this document and what he said about this, I have absolutely no idea about that. I know nothing about it.
Now, if we could move to the next topic. If we could please bring up document SITF 003-14830 to 003-14965. And the first page I'd like is the one, there's unfortunately no Serbian document. I'd like the page firstly, SITF 003-14847. Now, you're aware, aren't you, that the SPRK in Kosovo carried out an investigation into your husband's abduction?
Ne, nije mi poznato.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Well, the investigation was based on information that you had provided. If I can just...
Ja mogu samo da
May I just say something, please?
kažem, mi smo samo...
Madam, we just went and reported my husband's disappearance and nothing else.
I think what must have happened is the Serbian authorities had passed the information, because from the documents I'm going to show you now, it's clear that that information had originated from you somehow. So I'll show you that. If we can go to a different document first, just to establish that. If we can go, please, to... It's the same document, sorry, and it's at page... What's the page? SITF 003-14924 to SITF 003-14926. And if we can go to the second page of that. And if you can see the section on factual allegations, it reports the situation of your husband and his kidnapping. And it tells the court what you've said now, and it says, amongst the kidnappers, Stamina Jelic recognised her neighbours, Filikic and Bugari. So it appears to me that this investigation was opened using information that you must have provided.
Objection, I believe.
Jel može jednom da ja vama...
Madam, can I just say something? First of all, my husband did not disappear in 1998, but in 1999.
We can go now to another... they recognise that error. If we can go back, please, to page... SITF 003-14847 of this document. And if we go to the next page, please. And if we can pen down to the second paragraph of the reasoning. And in fact, the investigators recognised that fact, madam, because they said that after the interview of Stamina Jelic, the only witness in this case, she clarified what the described events took place on 9th of August 99 instead of 9th of August 98, as the war in Kosovo officially ended on the 11th of June 1999, the criminal offence had to be reclassified as a non-war crime. Do you see that? So they recognised here that in fact your husband was taken on the 9th of August 1999.
I'm sorry, is there a question for the witness?
The question is here. Initially, the witness was questioning whether or not this was an authentic document because it had the wrong date. I'm just showing her here that they corrected it. And we also see here, madam, that they say that they interviewed you. Can you see that they've said that after the interview of Stamina Jelic? Were you not interviewed by them?
Ali, ne razumem.
I don't understand what you mean. Who interviewed me?
A case, an investigation in Kosovo conducted by the SPRK. I asked you about that, and you said you weren't aware of it. Do you remember telling me that?
You might want to tell her what the SPRK is. We know, she might not.
This is the ULEX body in Kosovo that was investigating crimes.
Jel mogu ja da kažem nešto?
Can I say something? Madam, I never had any conversation.
You didn't have any conversations with ULEX, is that your evidence?
Ne.
Yes, I've never had any conversation with them. I just went to report my husband's disappearance, so no.
And did you report your husband's disappearance to the European Union Rule of Law Mission in Kosovo?
Da, u Kvor.
Yes, I went to K4 and reported his disappearance, but no one has ever asked me about anything since. Nobody ever showed up to put any questions to us. Frank was the only person who took us out of Orahovac. We didn't have anyone else ask us about anything.
Jel mogu da kažem još nešto?
And can I add something? Just like I read statements that were sent by some authorities down there, in one of them I read that I had 5 children. So this has absolutely nothing, I have absolutely nothing to do with this or with them.
Through some of those discrepancies in a moment, but if I can just return to my questioning, you've now confirmed that you did speak to the European Union mission, correct?
I think her answer was she went to K4.
K4. If we could go now, please, to the next document in this bundle, and that's...
Yes, I only reported my husband's disappearance, and that was it. Nobody asked me about anything else.
I understand, but please can we go to of this document, SITF 00314-854. If we pen, yeah. sorry, it's SITF 00314851. And this is a document from ULEX terminating the investigation into 2 suspects for your husband's disappearance. Their names, Ubugari and Felik. And if we go to the next page, please. And if we pen down.
Izvinite, to je prezime.
My apologies, that's the last name, Bugari. Last name.
Još nešto, Filkić.
And another thing, I never mentioned Filkić in any shape or form.
Actually, I'm going to ask you about that in a moment, because I understand that that is what your evidence is. And we are aware here that this body that we're discussing terminated their investigation into your husband.
Objection. Asked and answered. The witness has stated she was unaware of this investigation.
Sustained.
I'd like to tender these 2 pages. They're clearly prima facie relevant to the issue of her husband's disappearance. Specifically, I'd like to tender SITF 00314-847 to SITF 00314-848. And also, 2 more pages, SITF 00314-851 to SITF 00314-853, on the basis they are clearly relevant to a charged murder victim in this indictment.
SPO wish to respond?
Your Honor, I don't believe that this witness is the appropriate witness to tender these items. She has clearly stated on multiple occasions that she was unaware of this investigation and that she also did not give a statement to ULEX.
The 3 documents mentioned are admitted. They are satisfactory and meet the requirements, prima facie requirements of 138.
Your Honor,
Please assign a number to them.
if I can confirm, within the range SITF 00314-830 to 00314-965 RED, the pages that are admitted are 00314-847 to 00314-848 and 00314-851 to 00314-853. And those pages will be assigned exhibit number 1D 193.
And then, prior to you finishing your cross-examination, we will now admit 1D 192 that was formerly MFI and will now be given a number.
Your Honor, the number will remain the same, 1D 192. We will just change the evidentiary status to admitted.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Madam Witness, I'd now like to talk a bit about Ismet Tara. Now, your mother-in-law knew him, didn't she? Because she had been a well-respected, she was well-respected in the area.
Yes, yes.
Now, you didn't go with her the next day, did you, to meet with Ismet Tara?
Ne.
No.
She told you what happened.
Da.
Yes.
I think the Serbian MUP and the reference for the court is P01700 at 3030657, that he called in some KLA, after she made the complaint, he called in some KLA members and asked if your mother-in-law recognised them, didn't he?
Da.
Yes.
Did she?
Ne.
No, she didn't.
And he offered to drive her through the town to try to identify the men who had done this to your husband, didn't he?
Da.
Yes.
Find out who did it, wasn't he? That's what it looks like. Would you agree with me?
Da.
Yes.
And after the men came back to your family's house and harassed you, did you know that your mother-in-law went back to Ismet Tara at that stage to report it again?
Ne.
No.
And so she didn't tell you anything about how he then made more inquiries about who had done it but didn't know who'd done it. And the reference for the court is 030660 to 030672 at 030663. Did she tell you about that conversation?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Now I'd like to go to...
Ja se izvinjam. Jel mogu da...
Apologies. May I add something?
Go ahead, witness.
Jel mogu da kažem nešto?
May I say something?
Moja svekrva...
My mother-in-law was not able to walk on her own because she was ill. She couldn't walk around Orahovac. She had to use a cane. She was an elderly woman. She was over 70.
I da je ona išla...
And it's not correct that she went to Ismetara on several occasions. That's not correct. Now, as for the statements and whoever wrote those, I really know nothing about that. She only went that one day to Ismetara. I know this because we lived in the same household.
Well, your mother-in-law has in fact said that she did go to see Ismet Tara and Tara, and this is what she said, I've given the reference to the court, she said already that she made inquiries with several commanders, but that he didn't know who had done it, and he concluded that it was likely to be men from nearby villages, and he could no longer command them as KFOR had taken matters into its hands.
Objection. The witness has stated that she does not know about anything that occurred here, and also I don't believe a question was posed.
I'm going to suggest that you're
Sustained.
wrong, and that the question is, I'm going to suggest that you're wrong, and that your mother has said something contrary. Mother-in-law. I would like to apply to tender that page of the statement.
Госпожо, я вам кажу...
Madam, I told you what she had told me. Now, that she went to report this on several occasions to ISMET, she couldn't do that. She was a sick woman, do you understand?
My application is to tender that page, please, as impeachment. Um, 030660 to 030672 at 030663.
Yes,
Any
Your Honor.
objection?
Yes, Your Honor, we would argue that this is not impeachment. The witness stated that she is unaware of this information, and therefore we would object to this item being tendered, specifically this one page of this statement of a witness who is not present.
This statement.
This is a statement of the mother-in-law. No, but
So it's not an impeachment.
it's not impeachment, but she said that the mother-in-law didn't go back more than one day. She couldn't walk.
It's still not impeachment.
We can
But
apply through the
but
Bar Act.
I'm not saying you can't offer it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
let's don't call it impeachment, because it wasn't. So 030, what?
To be honest, that specific page will be marked as 1D 194.
I'm sorry, Your Honour, these terms are alien to me from my jurisdiction. That's why I'm tripping up over the words impeachment. We don't have the same process.
There's also the consideration of whether it's a statement or not as well that we have to take. That's the reason we're marking it MFI, to take a further look at it. But
Thank you. Now I'd like to go on to my last penultimate topic. Well, I'm going to be a bit longer than, sorry. Yeah.
go ahead.
I think I'd reserved an hour, which I'm at, but it needs a bit longer.
Yeah, it's all right. Go ahead.
Now, if we could please bring these up. There's a series of 3 documents I want to bring up on the screen, perhaps not shown to the public. And the first one is 030655 to 030659, and the Serbian has the same reference, and it's at page 030658. And if we can go to the bottom of the page.
Da.
Yes.
Spoke to the prosecutor, and the reference is Prep Note 1, paragraph 16, you said that you hadn't said that sentence about there being a photograph in which your husband Marco was holding a weapon. Do you remember that?
Da.
Yes. I did not state this, that they had taken a photo of him. No, I never said that.
That they saw a photograph. Is that the right translation? The sentence here is that... Yeah.
No, I don't remember that. I wasn't told that.
Here, what you're saying is that you never said that while your father and mother-in-law were there, they saw a photograph. Is that right? You didn't say that.
Nisam rekla.
I didn't say that, but whether they'd seen something or not, I don't know. They did not say anything to me. I don't know anything about that.
Would you agree with me that in this statement here, it says that you said that they saw a photograph?
Da, vidim.
Yes, I see that, but I didn't say that. I don't remember saying it.
Here, at the bottom of the statement,
Vidim, ali ovo nije.
I see it, but this is not my statement.
Znam šta sam
I know exactly what I said. No, this is not something that I said. No.
so am I to assume that when you signed the statement, it didn't have that sentence in it?
Ne. Ja nikad nisam.
No, I never mentioned any photo or anything that my mother and father-in-law told me. No, I don't remember that.
Now, I assume that you left, that this statement was the property
I ovih imena ovoga nije I ovo.
And these names here, no, this is not my statement.
Can you see above your signature, it says, there's a statement of truth which says, I hereby acknowledge the statement that has been read out as my own and I hereby sign it.
Da, vidim.
Yes, I see that, madam. But these are not my statements and these names, Nia Balja or something like that. No.
So you can't help us with how that sentence came into your statement?
Ne.
No.
On the same page of this statement, it says, if you could pen up, please. So I'm just trying to find it. sorry, if you could go down. Okay, sorry. At the bottom of that paragraph that we've just talked about, we've gone through, it says there, I personally believe that the person behind my husband's abduction was Avni Bala and the Albanian neighbours whom I mentioned took him from the house. Can you see it says that?
Vidim, ali ja...
I see that, but madam, I did not say that. I never mentioned it. Or that anyone was an organizer of something. No.
No, but you signed that statement, didn't you? We've seen your signature on the bottom page.
Da, ali ovo moja iz...
Yes, but these are not my statements, frankly speaking, no.
Saying that when you signed it, it didn't have that sentence in it.
Ili ovo neko, ovo ko je pisao ove izjave?
Those who wrote these statements seem to have been improvising, or how they wrote it, I don't know. But these names like Avni Balja, I never mentioned them. I just didn't say all that.
It's drafted by the Serbian MUP. Did you know that? Well, it says it at the top. This is a statement that you gave to the Serbian MUP, correct?
Ja vidim šta ovde...
Yes, I see what's written there. I'm reading it, but those are not my words. No.
Whoever wrote this was improvising a bit. Is it your evidence, witness, that the Serbian MUP was improvising?
Your Honor, this calls for speculation, and these two sentences specifically read to the witness were clarified in Prep Note 1, which is P01703, paragraph 16. These two specific sentences have been clarified by the witness.
It's overruled. You can answer the question.
Madam Witness, you said that whoever took this statement was improvising. We know that the Serbian MUP took the statement. Is it your view that it was the Serbian MUP who was improvising?
Ja samo hoću da kažem da...
I just want to say that these are not my words, nothing else.
And on this same statement, there's one more incident in this statement. Shall I finish that before the break, before moving to the next one?
Go ahead.
Now, staying in this statement, at page 657, so the page before, it says here that, if we pen down, please. That's it, the fourth paragraph, that starts in August. Can you see that? And then halfway through that, it says, I recall that one of them had the last name Skilic, the second Bulhari, and the third, who was wearing shorts and slippers, was nicknamed Golubar. Do you see that sentence?
Za Golubara I za...
As for Golubar and Bulgaria, I did say that, and the rest, no.
Ova izjava što...
And the statement, this part, at some point in July.
So last week you told the prosecutor at paragraph 8 of Prep Note 1 that you didn't mention a Skilic at all. That's right, isn't it?
Da.
But
Yes.
that name has entered this statement, hasn't it? It's in there.
Pa ovde što šta navedeno koje
Well, there are various things recorded here which I did not say.
ovde piše I da sam rekao
It says here also that I said that Hashim Thaçi had come to Orahovac. I didn't say that because that's not something that I remember.
You say that when you signed this statement, it didn't contain those elements, correct?
Ja kažem samo da ja ovo
I'm just saying that this is not something that I said. I didn't say this.
You signed the statement, didn't you?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled,
You
may answer
signed the
question.
statement, didn't you?
ne znam.
I don't know. This, what I'm reading on the screen now, I never said any of this.
If we can go down to your signature, please. It's on the next page. Can you see there your signature?
Vidim, ali
Yes, I do, but I did not say any of this.
Were you signing what you believed was the truth?
ma gospođo ja
Well, madam, I understand what you are asking me, but none of this are my words. Do you get it? Half of this I did not say, so I don't really understand. I don't really understand where all this comes from.
I just have a question. What's your case? Are you putting it to the witness that she said that and now recants, or are you saying that someone put it in?
I'm trying to explore it because she signed it. She says when she signed it, she didn't say those things. So I'm trying to explore how they got in there.
Really obvious she doesn't know how they got in there.
So you can't. Could this be another example of the Serbian MUP improvising?
Your Honor, objection. That calls for speculation.
Sustained.
We can take the break.
We'll take the break now. We'll take a half-hour break now, witness. You'll be back, come back to the courtroom at about 10 minutes after, or 20 minutes to 12, I guess it would be.
Okay.
You may leave.
All right.
We will be adjourned from now until 20 minutes till 12.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. As to MFI ID 194, the document, which is clearly a statement of a third party, should have been tendered under rules 153, 154, or 155 if it was to be admitted. which has been our standard thus far. The material in this statement is being used for issues of credibility, which have been read out in open court. The testimony was given by the witness, and it's a permanent part of the record. So the material which is questioned has already been entered into the verbal record of the court. The statement of the witness's mother-in-law will not be admitted, but of course the testimony has been heard. And this is all as to page 030663. Please bring the witness in. Witness, can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Stavicoli still has some questions from the Thaçi defense. Please give her your attention.
Thank you. Now, you gave a statement in 2002 to the Crucivac SUP, and I'm just going to bring that up on the screen. And that is P01699, and I'd like it at page 030669, please, Madam Court Officer. The English and Serbian are the same.
Okay.
All right.
And can you see the top line here, please? It says, my husband was kidnapped on the instructions of Avni Bala, Nazif Shabani, Shkurta Miftari, and Arsim Derguti. Can you see that sentence?
Da.
Yes, I can see it.
Your signature at the bottom of that page.
Vidim I to.
Yes, I see that too.
Before your signature says this, the statement has been read out to me and the claims in it are my own. I hereby acknowledge them as such and append my signature. Can you see that?
Vidim.
Yes, I see it.
The SPO in your preparation session last week, and the reference is preparation note 1, paragraph 18, that you never said that your husband was kidnapped on the instructions of those people on their order. Do you remember telling them that?
Sjećam se da sam.
Yes, I remember that I said that because I corrected that since I had never mentioned those names.
Statement, which you have on the screen, was that sentence in it?
Pa iskreno
Well, honestly, of those names and these words, I did not mention any of that. This is my signature, but these are not my words.
So that's not quite my question. My question was, when you signed that statement, was that sentence in this document?
ne, verovatno da je.
No, Probably, I don't know, I don't remember, but in any case, these are not my words.
My question, but I think we've got the point. I'll move on. And then, please, can I bring up the next document, which is P01702, which is a record of your interview before the pre-trial judge of the War Crimes Chamber of the Belgrade High Court. And I'd like to go in that to page ending 4869. And can we go to the end of that page, please? And here, the second to last sentence, which says, on this occasion, Bugari came and asked that we will give him 20 or 30,000 marks to let my husband go, but we told him that we did not have that kind of money. Do you see that?
Yes, I see that, and the last time I corrected that, they asked for money, but did not mention a specific amount.
At the bottom of that page.
I do.
Signature, say this: I listened while the record was read back to me. I accept the statement in its entirety as my own and sign it without objection. And then we have your signature, correct?
That's right.
So when you signed that document, you were confirming it was true, correct? Is that right? When you signed it, you were confirming it was true?
That's right.
Is your evidence that when you signed it, that sentence was not in there, that detail about 20 or 30,000 marks was not in there when you signed it? Is that what you're now saying?
Well, I said last time, and I'm saying it now, this man called Bulgari asked for money, but he never mentioned either 20 or 30,000.
Madam, that's not quite my question. My question is, when you signed this document, did it have the sentence about 20 or 30,000 marks? Yes or no?
I don't remember.
So there are 5 times that you've signed documents with sentences that you say you didn't say, correct?
Correct.
And can you help us as to how those sentences then came into your documents?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. If she knows, she can answer.
Honestly, I don't know. What I said, I stand by that, and what I didn't say, I do not stand by that.
Thank you. I've got one further question. Would I be right, it's on a different topic, would I be right to understand that you didn't think that K4 had done a particularly good job in helping to find your husband or investigate his abduction?
Stojim iza toga da ništa.
I stand by that they didn't do anything, and that's it.
Further questions?
Thank you, Ms. Tapatoli. Ms. Rowan.
No, thank you.
Mr. Roberts.
Nothing from me, Your Honour.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis.
Yes, thank you, Your Honour.
Go ahead.
For planning purposes, I'm hoping to be less than half an hour.
Thank you very much.
Witness, my name is Aidan Ellis, and I'm representing Mr. Jakub Krasniqi. I want to start with a couple of questions about this Bugari, who you've said was one of the people who came into your house on the 9th of August of 1999. And you told the prosecution in your preparation session earlier this month, and it's Exhibit 1703, paragraph 15, that you don't know his first name. Do you recall saying that?
Da.
Yes, yes.
Bugari is a common surname in the Rahovec area, isn't it?
Pa to ne znam.
Well, I really don't know that.
But you've told the prosecution that you knew this Bugari because he lived below your house, correct?
Tako je.
That's right.
I can show you a set of photographs to ask you if you could identify the person you say was Bugari on the photographs.
No.
Could I take you, please, first of all, to SITF 00314-830 at page SITF 00314-875. It was page 314875, please. Yes, that's it. Now, witness, this is only in English, so I'll read the relevant part, but this is from a request from the ULEX authorities, who you were asked questions about earlier this morning, to the Serbian authorities in February of 2014. And it asks for the Serbian authorities to interview you as a witness. And amongst the things they identify as topics is number 5, whether you would be able to identify the perpetrators if shown their photo around the time of the events. Now, we've seen, I think, you were interviewed by the Serbian authorities in April of 2014, weren't you?
Tako je.
That's right.
Screen that interview, which I think is P1702, and before it had a P number, it was SITF 00314-867. And at the top of that page, The first paragraph says, compiled on the 1st of April 2014, before the pretrial judge of the War Crimes Chamber of the Belgrade High Court, in proceedings following a request by ULEX dated the 4th of February 2014 to interview a witness. So if I'm understanding correctly, could it be that ULEX made a request for an interview and that interview indeed took place 2 months later in Belgrade? Could that be right?
Well, it would, but I don't remember, honestly.
I understand. And in the course of that interview, one of the things you were asked about and you said was that I would definitely recognize them if I saw them again. And later on, it's on the 3rd page, you said, I reiterate, I think I would recognize them all if I saw them again. So in 2014, you were saying you would recognize the people who came into your house on the 9th of August if you saw them again, correct?
No.
Yes, that's right. Because they were not wearing any masks on their faces or anything.
Showed you photographs and asked if you could recognize them on photographs, is that right?
No.
That's right, they didn't. They never showed me any photographs.
Different topic, and that document can come down, and can it be replaced with DJK 01041? Again, witness, so that I explain, this document is only available in English, but I can read the relevant parts to you. You have said that your father-in-law was in your house on the 9th of August 1999. His name was Dragomir Jelic, is that right?
That's right.
Now, the document that is coming up on screen is from the Human Rights Advisory Panel of UNMIK, and it has the heading Dragomir Jelic against UNMIK. My question is, were you aware that your father-in-law had submitted a complaint to UNMIK about the handling of the investigation into your husband's abduction?
No, I'm not aware of this.
To page DJK 01045. I'm going to read to you parts of paragraphs 20 and 21. Paragraph 20, the complainant is the father of Mr. Marko Jelic. Paragraph 21, the complainant states that on the 9th of August 1999, his son was abducted from their family house in Rahovec by 3 armed Albanians in the presence of the entire family, including Mr. Marko Jelic's wife and their 2 minor children. I'll stop there. I've gone to that so that you can see this is clearly about your husband's case, isn't it?
Yes, that's right, but this is not something that I'm aware of.
I'll just take you to one more paragraph from it. If we can go to DJK 01063. And paragraph 104, please. And again, I'll read it to you. The panel notes that although the investigative files show that the WCIU, probably War Crimes Investigation Unit, completed an ante-mortem investigation report in March 2005, it does not appear that even then any basic investigative steps were taken by the UNMIK police, such as visiting his home in Rahabech, the location where Mr. Marko Jelic had been reportedly seen for the last time, to try and better understand the circumstances of his disappearance, or identifying and interviewing individuals residing at or located in the area of the alleged crime, brackets canvassing the area. There is also no evidence that UNMIK police attempted to contact the complainant or any of the other family members who had apparently witnessed the abduction. Similarly, it does not appear from the file that UNMIK police attempted to locate and interview Mr. B or Mr. F, persons that Mrs. Stamina Jelic said had abducted her husband. And my question is, were you aware that UNMIK police had not attempted to locate and interview the people that you had said were the ones who had abducted your husband?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
I apologize, but I don't know anything about this.
Very well. I understand. And Your Honour, I seek to tender the document. In my submission, it meets the Rule 138 criteria.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
You want the entire document?
I would prefer the entire document
All right.
for
And
completeness.
So give us the DJK, the full number for that.
I'm grateful. It was DJK 01041 to 1075.
No objection having been made. DJK 01041 to 1075 is admitted.
Your Honor, that will be assigned Exhibit 4D85, and I note it's classified public in legal workflow.
It's a public document. Moving to a different topic, witness, you were asked some questions this morning about the blue ID which one of the men showed to you. And my question is, were you shown different examples of different identification cards to see if you could identify which was, or recognize any of them?
I already said that. I was shown only one card, and the man who showed it to me, who showed this ID to me, he was not from Orahovac. He was from elsewhere because he couldn't even speak Serbian.
Apologize, I probably got asked the question in a confusing way. My question is, in the course of the investigation after events, were you shown examples of ID passes so that you could try to identify which one was the one that you were shown at the time?
I don't understand your question. Have I been shown by whom?
I asked you questions about your husband's disappearance. Did any of those people show you examples of ID cards?
No.
I'll move on to a different topic. Could we have on screen, please, 027628 at the front page to begin with? And there's an English translation at DJK 01076. and I will apologise immediately for my pronunciation, witness, but the cover of the book on screen is a book called Monument to the New Kosovo Suffering by Metropolitan Amfilohia Radovic. Is this a book that you've ever seen before?
No.
No.
In relation to the author, is it correct that the Metropolitan Amfilohia is a senior priest within the Orthodox Church?
Ale ne razumem ovo pitanje sad. Kakve veze ima mi...
I don't understand your question. What does the metropolitan and the bishop have to do anything with all of my testimony today?
Can we go to page 027978 in the Serbian, and it should be the second page of the English translation. And I just want to put to you one passage in this book, which you can probably see on your screen at the top of the page. It says, Marko Jelic, 31, an economist from Orahovac at Termovent, abducted on June 20th, no trace. He was taken from his apartment by 3 armed Shiptars in civilian clothes, aged around 30, saying that they were taking him for an interview and that he will return it immediately. And my question is, did you, or to your knowledge, members of your family, provide information to the Orthodox Church about your husband's case?
Ne.
No.
People in Rahavec were clearly talking about incidents that had happened, and there are different versions of events going around, weren't there, at the time?
I understand your question, sir. But first of all, my husband did not disappear in June, but rather on the 9th of August. And who said this and what they said, I have no idea what that has to do with me or my family.
Can we move to a different document then, which is SPOE 00105-525? And again, this is only in English, but I can go through the relevant bits with you. This is from a document from the International Committee of the Red Cross. Were the Red Cross one of the organisations, the ICRC, that you contacted in the years after your husband's disappearance?
No.
No.
Go to the second page, please. And if you could scroll down, please. It says in this document that on the 6th of June 2002, a tracing request was collected by ICRC from Jelic Stamina, brackets wife. Could it be that you submitted a tracing request to the ICRC in June of 2002?
I never gave any statement to them, nor did I go see them. It was my sister-in-law, Marco's sister, who went there.
And if we could scroll back up on that page, then I'll read you a paragraph. It says, according to the information given by the family witnesses of the event, on 9th August 1999, in the evening hours, 3 persons dressed in the KLA uniform came to the house of Jelic family and took away Jelic Marko into unknown direction. So you're saying when it refers to information given by the family, that would be from your sister-in-law, is that right?
That's right.
Later in 1999, the family met with some KLA members but failed in obtaining any information since the KLA members were rather surprised when heard about the abduction. The meeting was organized by the OSCE since Jelic Marko used to work for OSCE as a translator. Is that also information that your sister-in-law gave to the ICRC?
Yeah.
I
To ne znam.
don't know about that. I don't know what she told them. I don't know.
Your Honours, I tender that document, the ICRC document, 2 pages.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Is that SPOE 00105525?
I think it is, Your Honour. I'm sorry, I turned away before I read the number
I don't
out.
have the page numbers, though.
It was 105525 to 105526. 2 pages.
One 1055525 to 526 is admitted.
Johannes, that will be assigned exhibit 4D86, and if we can confirm the classification.
I'm wondering if that one ought to be confidential because it's an ICRC document.
Your Honor, if we could perhaps make it confidential for now, just to check on the
Yes.
provider information.
That's good, thank you.
I'm grateful. And my final couple of questions are about, in relation to Ismet Tara. Earlier this morning, at page 16, line 21 in the provisional transcript, you testified that you heard from people in Orahovac that Ismet Tara was responsible for the disappearance of people. Do you remember giving that answer to, I think, the prosecution this morning?
Da.
Yes.
I think the first time you had said something of that nature was in your preparation session with the prosecution in September of this year. It's been recorded in Prep Note 2 at 122937, paragraph 7, that you stated that when you went to the Association of Disappeared People, you heard from a woman there whose husband was also abducted that Ismet Tara was responsible for the abductions and that they knew him. That's what you said in your preparation session to the prosecution, isn't it?
That's right, that's what I said.
No name recorded in the notes from the preparation session. You'll agree with me that you did not tell the prosecution the name of the woman that you heard this from, correct?
That woman, she passed away.
Very well. One moment. Those are my questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Judge Gaynor, you had a question?
Yes, thank you very much, Judge Smith. Perhaps we could go into private session for this.
Into
please.
private session, please.
And could I ask Madam Court Officer, sorry.
Your Honor, we're in public session.
Thank you. Those were all my questions. Thank you.
Any follow-up by the prosecution to the judge questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Laws, anything?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thaçi defense, anything?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Nothing, thank you.
Your Honour, I had a couple of questions just to follow up on Judge Gaynor's question.
Go ahead.
Does it need to be, to deal with that document, does it need to be in, were we in closed session, Your Honour, Judge Gaynor? I apologise. Sorry? Could we go back into private session?
Back into private session, please. This is, you know.
Your Honor, we're in public session.
All right, witness, I was just about to thank you for being with us and sharing your information with us. Your obligation to the court is completed. You may leave now, and the court attendant will escort you out of the room. Thank you again for being with us.
Hvala i vama, prijatno.
Thank you too. God bless.
We're adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
All rise.